So will this episode be all references or go back to canon? Hey everyone, welcome to Princess Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with my blind reaction to New Panty and Stocking, episode 11. We are getting close to the end of this, but we've still got a couple more weeks to go. And last episode was just batshit crazy because it was just references. It wasn't canon to the rest of the story. Both segments were just big references that were meant to, fully dive into those ideas. Um, they were almost like you were watching like parody films within this universe, and they had nothing whatsoever to do with the main story going on, as little of a story as this series tends to have, but you know what I mean. Um, we got like one that was a ripoff of a couple different things, including aliens and the thing. And then we got a segment that was like a Conan the Barbarian thing. It was wild. And it was probably the best episode of Panty and Stocking yet. Like, just in general, for both seasons. Because it was like not only a love letter to these different movies and properties, but it was very clearly just really well thought out. They utilized the standard Panty and Stocking, ridiculousness and raunchiness to great effect in regards to how these stories typically go down. And the entertainment factor alone was just off the scales. It was just so fun to watch, so exciting, so entertaining. And that's probably the best part of any show. If you can really like enjoy what you're watching, what else do you really need? Even if it's not like the best made, it's like if you're enjoying it to a super high degree, it doesn't matter, right? So, we're going to get into this episode, see what we have in store, see if we go back to like the main stuff going on. Excuse me. Or if we're going to just diverge still, because we still do need to get back on track. There has been set up for a big like clash this season, and nothing's really come of it yet. So maybe we'll see something in this episode. Maybe we'll just continue with our regularly scheduled shenanigans. I don't know, but let us find out. Hold up just a sec. Before you click that link down in the description below to get to today's video, I want to remind you of all the awesome content we have both on this channel and the Princess of Gaming channel. Let's check it out. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. This was interesting. So let's go segment by segment. The first segment was a short one, and it was Brief and Chuck exploring the underground, I guess. Like, there wasn't really much to it. It's just Brief saw these crotchless panties that he wanted to get for Panty, for some reason thinking it would help their relationship. He falls down a hole, and he and Chuck are journeying to try and get out. But they somehow end up like in some kind of like time travel mirror tunnel, and Chuck accidentally knocks him into into the the mirror that puts him back like right before he fell in the hole and everything. And it's just like, why? What was the point of that? Like, you didn't need to do that. It didn't change anything, and basically just amounted to the segment like kind of meaning nothing. It just didn't do anything. I don't get it. The second segment was an Indiana Jones reference. Or I guess Tomb Raider, all that kind of stuff. So, Brief, Panty, and Stocking are trying to get this mystical treasure. Brief appreciates like the treasures for what they are and the ruins for what they are. But Panty and Stocking are just like, Panty and Stocking. Knee Socks and Scanny get involved as well. And it turns into this like fight between them. They're competing to try and get it so they can get the heaven or hell coins. And then they have to escape while Brief is kind of being possessed by the rage that the cultists had for like being, I guess, fucked to death by their fertility goddess. What? And so it turns into this like minecart chase, and they end up leading the possessed Brief, which is turned into like this scorpion monster, out, and it turns quote unquote flaccid outside of the ruins, and they're able to defeat it easily. Brief is saved. Everyone goes home except Scanny and Knee Socks, who fell earlier because of their stupidity. Well, mostly Scanny's. And yeah, it was just an excuse to have a reference to the likes of Indiana Jones and Tomb Raider and whatnot. It didn't really amount to anything otherwise. Like the Angel Bros had a brief cameo, but like they even pointed out, like Stocking even pointed out, like that it was just a pointless random cameo. So it didn't really amount to anything even for that. And then the third segment, Stocking's Kono Kaneko, I think it was called, ends up getting torn up accidentally because it was like washed in the dryer instead of hand washed. And so she tries to fix it, but Tom Cruise Jr. comes back from the future to tell her that doing so will basically lead to Skynet somehow. Like, it's just going to be Terminator with the Kono Kanekos. And so she doesn't fix it herself, but with the help from Gunsmith Bitch, she's just hanging out with now, I guess. They go into the past to meet the person who actually created Kono Kaneko. And it was Garter, a young Garter belt. And so he's able to fix the plush for Stocking. But as they go back into the future, Tom Cruise Jr. comes and shoots Garter, and that causes him to become like this skeletal cyborg in the present day. And Kono Kaneko is like looking like a normal cat and stuff. And then it just ends and it says, oh, this isn't going to be continued, by the way. And it's like, what? And it has a Back to the Future reference with the photo as well, and it's just, it feels like one of those just random things that, again, don't amount to anything, but are just there to make the references. And it's not quite the same as last week's episode, where the segments were just like, again, almost like parody movies of these references. Because this is like the actual like canon characters of Panty and Stocking just going through these adventures. And it is happening within the canon of the main series, but nothing's changing. Nothing's like being progressed. And I know that a lot of episodes and segments don't really progress much with this series, because that's just the nature of Panty and Stocking. But it's like, it felt like it was a pointless, reference. it didn't feel like it mattered in any way. Or I guess another way to put it is it felt like almost soulless. Like you just didn't have any effort or actual like care put into the references. You were just making references just to make them. And again, I get that it's panty and stocking. I understand that that's the joke. This is a satire series that is especially satirizing American media. And a lot of times that American media can often reference itself, reference other American media. And stuff like Terminator and Indiana Jones and whatnot are, you know, referenced and parodied a lot. So it makes sense, like, from a satire perspective. But, like, when you're openly admitting that, like, the cliffhanger you're leaving off on will not be continued, it's like, why should I get invested in this segment, in this episode, if you're admitting it literally means nothing? Because the thing is, even the comedy of this episode wasn't as like strong as other ones. Honestly, like there have been so many other episodes that have been just a lot funnier. Hell, last episode was honestly just even better than that. Um, there have been episodes that have been like legitimately emotional, surprisingly enough. There's been episodes that just do more. And this just doesn't really do anything. And that might be a me problem. I completely will acknowledge that. Because a lot of people watching this probably won't care. They probably won't give a shit. Because all they care about is goofy panty and stocking shenanigans. I I tend to not be like that because, and I've talked about this with other like, you know, episodic shows and stuff. I tend to like really think about story and character and meaning in shows and movies and games and all. That kind of stuff is important to me, and when I see something like this that just, again, I don't have an issue with it being episodic here, but when it doesn't like put any effort into like making it feel like it matters to the rest of the series, it feels like filler. Even though I know it's like not, it feels like it. It feels like it has no point, no meaning, and no relevance to anything else. And again, I know that it might just be me that bothers, but it does bother me. And I'm not saying this is the worst episode of the show. It's not. I'm not saying that it's like really, really, really bad, because it's not. It's more nothing. It's more just kind of like in the middle, like a big old meh. It doesn't do anything really good, but it doesn't do anything really bad either. And it just doesn't feel like it really tried one way or the other. But maybe that's just me. It's like I'm struggling to even find anything to really talk about, because it feels like all three of these segments were just void of anything really that interesting. And mind you, I can't expect every episode to be like next level. We just had like the best episode of the series in my opinion so far. I mean, I can deal with the episode right after that being a little lower in quality because it's like that kind of like balances out almost. But excuse me. Either way, this one may not have done it for me that much, but we have a few more to go, so hopefully I enjoy the next ones quite a bit more. So let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. And for now, I'm Connie and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.